think we are gentlemen. It's time to remind the world what gentlemen are.
The Kingsman films are so heightened. It's fast, it's furious, it's funny at times, it's deadly serious at times. I mean, beautifully choreographed and really well considered.
You're going to need a suit. Come on.
I first heard about the Kingsman film when Matthew called me because he really liked my work on The Crown.
Michele, I gave her the brief that even though it's a period drama, I didn't want it to feel like a period drama.
I love the fact that it was set in a tailor shop, obviously Huntsman in Savile Row. I mean, that appeals to me. I met with Matthew and I went along with a few mood boards and things at what I felt we could do within the period to give it that Kingsman look that Ariane established so much so on the Kingsman films. And yeah, we obviously hit it off and he invited me to be part of the journey.
I know you want to fight, but there are other ways of doing your duty.
Welcome to the club.
Very clever.
So The Kingsman is a prequel to the Kingsman films, and it's set in just pre-First World War and going into the war.
It's centred around the Kingsman world finest tailor, so there's a sort of gentleman-like quality to the backbone of the film. Obviously, different period, whole new set of characters.
And it's based around a series of true events, but it's following the Oxford family and how the Kingsman was formed.
While governments wait for orders, our people take action.
So when I first start a show or a film, such as Kingsman, I research into the period, try and find as many references as I can, look at fabrics of the time, look at the weight of fabrics, look at characters as well, and put it on board so that it's surrounding us and so that we can really start thinking about the period and start creating palettes for each person. For instance, a Duke of Oxford, played by Ralph Fiennes. Oxford's very traditional, so we took lots of traditional tweed. There's also warmth to him and a sadness, so we sort of try and choose colours which are slightly muted, and you try and find these characters that you can sort of hook them onto in the way they might wear their costume and the way they might treat their clothes and their attention to detail. And I think because most people's references are from paintings or photographs, they don't allow for the quirks in society. So I think if you dig deep enough, you often find what you want to find to say something individual about a character. And the workroom, I think, on Kingsman, I probably had 5 tailors. So we experiment, we cut shapes. The actors will come in, we'll see what's working proportionally.
It's a sort of requirement to honour the Kingsman gesture of beautiful, beautiful men's tailoring. And of course, each person's body is different. And so how a particular cloth of a particular period, how it sits on the body and how to look elegant and effortless and part of that person, that's a real skill.
It was never really mooted about it becoming a collection, but as we saw the clothes develop, I think that idea grew with Matthew as well.
You know, we've got the Kingsman fashion label and the two things interweave a lot. So how do we make these suits accessible, which you or I would actually wear?
He was very concerned that it shouldn't look too period, but at the same time, he didn't want it to be wrong and removed from the period. So it was really interesting exploring elements like the height of the collar. The main thing we had to change to make it look more contemporary was the shoulder seam, because in the early 19th century, the shoulder seam was really raked back. And I think we just brought it forward by an inch or so. And maybe some of the jackets weren't quite as long, and you'd make minor tweaks. And it becomes something that everyone, actually all the actors loved their suits. They all wanted to wear them. Harris, who we first dressed, within a week or so went, I love this, I want to wear suits like this. We looked at obviously a lot of uniforms, leather jackets as well, even his motorcycle jacket. We researched into it, and then we found a couple of references, so it gave us the right to sort of explore that. Each actor has a very different take on how important costume is to them and how it helps them find the character. Rafe, in particular, is fascinated by costume, is knowledgeable about costume, and is really involved in how it should fit, how it expresses him. The aviator's jacket that Rafe wears when he's flying was taken from the jackets that pilots would wear at the time. And it has this big map pocket on the front, it buckles right up to the neck, it's got a really high collar at the back. And it's an amazing piece of kit. And so we took the originals, which were actually quite tough and heavy, and we managed to find a beautiful leather which had the look of weight, and it is heavy, but it has a suppleness. Because knowing that Rafe has to do all these stunts, meant that he can't be restricted by the costume, but the costume still has to look as though it's protecting him from the wind and the cold. But ultimately, I wanted him to look dashing and to feel great in it, which shows. And then with Harris, you know, he's a young boy who we imagine maybe he sort of follows American fashions, sort of counterbalance to Oxford, who's so traditional. So we thought we'd be right on point with his costumes. I wanted him to really sort of be looking to the, he's the hope of the future. When he's first taken to London with his father to buy a suit, I wanted this sort of cricket jumper, casual jacket with slacks, and it shows you instantly who he is. He's a sportsman, comfortable in himself, and he's not so formal. I obviously watched Kingsman 1 and 2 because I had to make the King's Man fit in with it to feel like it was part of the same story. Everything is really beautifully cut, really well presented. I mean, right down to the socks, the shoes. So I think it was that attention to detail which was really important.
I get to wear a lot of beautiful suits. Michele, she has an extraordinary knowledge about how clothes sit and fold and the cut of a lapel or the length of a leg in incredible detail.
This is a suit that Matthew was most keen to get right. It had to be perfect because it represents the whole Kingsman series. So it's double-breasted. He rarely wore double-breasted until this point in the film. Everything about it is the Kingsman. It's the moment we go from a historic film into the franchise and we see the link. I think we were very lucky with the period that the film is set in because I think it was a particularly elegant time. There were so many pieces that could shift very easily to contemporary. So the collection ended up being pretty thorough. It encompassed the suits, of course, they're really key, but the shirts, the ties, the knitwear, the casual wear. It embraced everything we had done. You can look at each piece and look back into British history and you'll find it. The fabrics are beautifully sourced and it is beautifully made. So there's this sort of tradition there, which I think is really exciting. It's the colours, it's the weights, it's the style.
I'm offering you the opportunity to become a Kingsman agent.
Like a spy?
Of sorts. Since 1849, Kingsman tailors have clothed the world's most powerful individuals. By 1919, a great number of them had the desire to preserve peace and protect life. Our founders realized that they could channel wealth and influence for the greater good. And so began an independent intelligence agency operating at the highest level of discretion. The Kingsman Agency.
Welcome to the club.
Very clever.
This movie really is an origin story. This is the foundation of the Kingsman franchise.
Manners
Make a
man.
spectacular, eh? Oh, yes. Very nice.
We see in this film the formation of the Kingsmen. Get to the lift. The style is very Matthew Vaughn.
Matthew is an amazing storyteller, and he's written something quite powerful.
At the centre of this particular Kingsman film is the First World War, but it still has its recognisable Kingsman elements.
Forget your manners.
Oh.
It's got a tailor shop. It's got complicated fight sequences.
There's gadgetry, humour and action and fantastical villains.
It's time to pour fuel on the fire.
Armed and ready. We shall see.
Welcome.
Why is it that boys are always so messy?
You're going to need a suit. Come on.
What an awesome look behind the scenes of The King's Man, a prequel to Kingsman. And I was a big fan of the Kingsman movie and The Golden Circle as well. So I'm excited to see this one. Let me know if you're looking to see this one as well down in the comments down below. And in the description down below, I have IMDb links for this film, so you can check out Matthew Vaughn's filmography, which is the director of this film and the first two films as well. And I also heard they're planning to maybe do a third for the trilogy of the first two Kingsmen. Let me know down in the comments down below your thoughts on that. And are you looking to dress like the Kingsmen as well? Did you like all the really cool stuff that you learned from the designer, the costume designer of the King's Man? prequel of the Kingsman franchise. So let me know down in the comments down below your thoughts, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe button, and I'll see you here next time. Later.